The Democratic Republic of Congo is in the middle of Africa. Where I went is a capital called Kinshasa, denoted by the red arrow. And in between this Congo and the Republic of Congo is the Congo River. I'm walking up the steps of a bridge in order to take the opening video or the opening shot for this amateur documentary, but as you can see it's a bit difficult, and you'll see why.
How can you have the things like this?
There's no maintenance on the steps and the rubber tiles have just literally come off and it's presenting a health hazard in it. As you can see here, it looks like anyone could fall over. I tripped over it myself, I think. Finally we're here. This strip is called La Boulevard, and this is the Kinshasa's equivalent to Oxford Circus, or Oxford Street I should say. As you can see, there's people under here selling under the bridge, there's people selling everywhere. There's a lot of people selling food, selling water in the roadside, in between the taxis. You see people trying to cross the road with their items, their goods, in order to get to the other side. Obviously for monetary purposes, and people are just trying to survive out here. Traffic lights are very rare. The people denoted in red are like traffic wardens, and as you can see in green there's a guy trying to cross the road with his goods, and the guys in blue are obviously on top of a truck, and these are things that you will not see in the UK. It's common for people to carry large loads on their head while crossing the road, which impairs their vision, which makes it difficult for them to see. And as stated before, this person here is selling water. Since water from the pipe systems are more or less undrinkable, people have to resort to plastic bottles of water, and so in this there's a gap in the market for people to make a bit of money selling water or selling beverages, and as you can see they're good at carrying it on their head traditionally. Again, this is more or less the same strip, and as you can see there's just people selling literally everywhere, and this is what a lot of the times you have to do here in Congo in order to make some money for food to take back to the family. This is just a little street corner and there's about 7 people selling different things, and really and truly this is how you have to be sometimes. So we're in the Lambretta right now and we're taking a cruise. This road seems alright. Seems like a more or less well-maintained road, and sometimes people have to resort to selling right outside of their houses, as I've seen here. And I've seen in another picture that's coming. Whatever people find, they sell, because that's the situation. That's the poverty that you can see in this country. This place would be, for example, your equivalent of a town centre, let's say. This place is closer to our neighbourhood. Now, in advance, I apologise for the shakiness of the camera and that camera angle. The reason being is because I'm not allowed to record in some places in case that I record a police officer or an army official or something like that and I land into problems, or my mobile phone being taken away from me or stolen. So I do apologise in advance. Tourism isn't really common over there. This is how people would make food in order to sell or in order for them to eat. As you can see, it's literally a fire lit, grilled, and sometimes they have to burn plastic or burn other materials in order to kindle the fire in order to make the food, as seen in this picture here. Sometimes people collect whatever they can in order to go and sell it. And probably go long distances in order to do so. Right in the middle of the marketplace, or literally everywhere, you'll see motorcycles. These are actually taxis. They can take, sometimes they can take 2 passengers, 3 passengers, 4 passengers, even more. This place is more closer to our neighborhood also. This road is something very common. You see most of the roads like this. When it rains, it will just enter the potholes and they're not well maintained. Crossing the road is very, very difficult, very, very risky as all the cars near miss each other. They go very close to each other. And the bonus point, at the petrol station, you don't fill up your own petrol, the attendants fill the petrol for you. All these yellow vehicles you see are the taxis, and the people standing outside of them, or on top of them, or behind them, are people trying to get people into the taxis. There's no public transport really, so the taxis act as buses, so they'll go a particular distance, and then they'll carry like maybe, the big taxis will carry like 20 people, stuff like that, for 500 francs, which is about 49p, something like that. A lot of the times they'll put these tyres in the middle of the road to stop the cars going down the alleyway, but as you can see, I don't think it's doing a good job because looks like cars go over them. This is actually meant to be a zebra crossing, but as you can see, it's not really a zebra crossing, and I went over it and the rules were not respected. As there's no MOT in Congo, a lot of the cars do produce a lot of pollution and harmful chemicals that come out of their exhausts. But there's no MOT in Congo, and the vehicles are not regulated, so whatever goes over there. No helmets on the bike or on the motorcycle either. So this is when I was trying to cross the road. And I quote, "You have to be like a cowboy in order to cross the road." I've seen about 6 helmets in Congo, 6 people on helmets, and I've seen about 600 motorcycles, so, you know, there you go. This is what you call a taxi bus, and here we go, near miss. Traditionally, this is what's called a lambretta, which is like a motorcycle in which 6 people can fit in there. 3 in the front and 3 in the back. And each person has to pay their fare within it. This is also another type of taxi, and I've been in one of these with 8 other people, and they go from destination A to B, and different taxis go to different destinations, and you have to pay your weight. There's no seatbelts in Congo, or at least there are belts, but there's no buckles. I tried to I found a seat with a seat belt, and I tried to put it on, but there was no buckle, and the guy said, "What are you doing?" And I told him it's fashion, and he started laughing. And this is a classical taxi bus. The people who ride on the back or on the top of the taxis actually work for the taxi. They call the place out, so where the taxi is going, and they attract people in the taxi in order to take them to their destination. Obviously, you'd never see this in the UK. Again, this is another type of taxi. Passenger at the back, driver at the front, no helmets. Very commonplace. This is a beautiful mosque which was built on the boulevard, as a large proportion of the population of Congo are Muslims. This is another walk down what you would call Oxford Street.
Thanks. I want to see it. Thank you. Boulevard.
This is the equivalent of Trafalgar Square. might see people here with white backgrounds, and what they do, there are people who take pictures of you, and this is for your passport photo.
Trafalgar Square.
Even in the more higher end part of Kinshasa, there are still problems with the pavement, and there's still a waste problem where people throw their waste. But with all due respect, sometimes people do manage to find a way to use their waste, like plastic bottles, in a decorative manner. This is still the capital, this is Kinshasa, but this is more or less the towns where we live. And as you can see, people just throw their waste on the floor. There's a real problem with waste collection, and the roads are not as well maintained as the other parts of Kinshasa, quote unquote Trafalgar Square. It's very common to see chickens walking around everywhere. I haven't seen a mouse yet, really, so yeah. If your car is just broken down, you can literally just abandon it anywhere you want, more or less. But this is actually slightly more organized. This is like a car cemetery, where cars were just written off. They just are left here to rest. But sometimes they can be abandoned in the middle of the marketplace. It was raining a lot that day, and because there's no real sewage system or drainage system, and there's no pavement, there's not concrete, it's just literally land. So what happens is flooding is just going to accumulate over on the ground.
Wow, that's crazy. But you see, look. Yeah, what's that? Dragonfly. Oh, you can catch it.
This is like a go-to marketplace. Even in the narrow spaces, motorcycle use usually be an issue. This is a statue of one of the previous presidents of Congo, Laurent Kabila. So now we're walking down the alleyway. This is my grandfather's land. This is his compound. And this is where he raised all of his children. And this is where I was staying. When you enter the compound, we'll walk down this small alley. And this is my grandfather's land. This compound was comprised of 3 houses, but now it's comprised of 4, as my dad built his house on his part of the land. This is my nephew, Caleb. What my granddad my granddad constructed that thing he sat on, which is where all his children would come and eat. That structure behind the yellow bucket is where people shower. And that pot, somebody's making something to eat, because there's no stoves, so you have to use fire. So this is my nephew, my other nephew, Louisi.
Wow, c'est quoi ça, pondu?
Those are cassava leaves.
C'est feuille de manioc. C'est feuille de manioc, c'est pondu.
Pondu. Pondu.
Oui.
Mm.
Ça c'est ngai.
Ngai are roselle leaves.
Epina.
Bien. Bien.
C'était des paille-paille.
Tea leaves.
Paille-paille.
Vidéo. Ah, toilette. Douche. Awa. Awa douche.
They were telling me that, as I said before, this structure is where people showered with buckets of water.
Ozanini. Awa. Monte.
There are 3 houses on the left. From left to right is where my auntie lives, where my uncle lives, and where my cousins live. So this is where people will come together and eat, and this structure's been there since my granddad built it.
C'est pour le papa Damien.
Papa Damien.
Ici, les paille-paille aussi.
Eh.
Pas pour
Qui monte pour cueillir?
So Luis is telling us that
Yo.
he's the one who actually climbs the trees in order to get the fruit down.
railler.
Aïe. What?
Ça, c'est
Ça vous-
pai. Filme pai. Mbuma ya pai wana.
Opi.
C'est
Oh, pai
avocat.
pai.
C'était avocat. Ah, pai.
C'est avocat.
Oui.
Uso numéro nanga.
Oui, napesi. Napesi. Numéro. Napesi numéro na yo.
Uso numéro nanga.
Oh, bien.
Usa nango.
So my cousins and a colleague of his, they constructed this house, which is my dad's house, that he built on his land, or my granddad's land. Not every Congolese house has this, as they don't really have taps. This is a modern house, so it has taps. However, 95% of the time the taps don't work, as you can see here. And if the water's not coming out from the pump, which is outside, the taps are definitely 100% not going to work. If you want to flush, you have to put the water in the bucket and in the toilet. So showering is very rare, in the sense of that obviously water's just not coming out, so you have to shower with the buckets. So you have to collect water from outside, from the pump outside, put it in the bucket, take the bucket to the reservoir, and use this use a smaller bucket in order to pour over your head and your body in order to shower. And because there's no concrete outside, there's no pavement, you can bring a lot of dirt in terms of like your shoes and your sandals and stuff. Another problem is that we only have electricity for about an accumulated 3 hours per day. So the electricity can cut off at any time and come on at any time. And unless you have one of these, which is a lantern, it's going to be very difficult for you to see. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to go to the balcony with a lantern. And you're literally in complete, nearly pitch black. Can't really see anything. Unless you invest in solar panels, which over there are quite expensive. So this is us outside of my dad's house, under the solar panel. This picture was taken obviously with flash, just to reiterate the fact that we're so blessed over here that there are people out there with no electricity. And when you don't have any water, right, and no electricity, life can get a bit hard. As you can see here, this is the water pump. There was no electricity at the time, and the taps weren't working anyways. So as you can see here, this is the water pump which the whole compound has to share. Sometimes water comes out, sometimes water doesn't come out. So you have to fill up your bucket and then take the bucket to the house, pour it into a bigger bucket which is the reservoir, and carry on these steps. As I said before, sometimes the water comes out, sometimes it doesn't come out. So when it comes out, you have to bring your buckets and take advantage. So this is outside on the streets. Sometimes people light fires in order to see where they're going. These small lights you see are actually people on the motorcycles or taxis, still working at this time, taking people from A to B. So this was February, so it was raining quite a lot. What happens normally is that strong winds come first, and then the rain comes after the strong winds. And it rains so much that the places become flooded. Some people are even able to go outside and actually have a shower in the rain. As there is no drainage system and no concrete, the alleyways become flooded. So the rain has now cooled down, and this is the aftermath of the rain. what happens is that when it rains in somebody's compound, they have at least a little drainage system which allows the water just to flow outside onto the streets. What's impressive over there is that if you don't have it, you find ways to have it. Some sticks, larger stick, and then container. Now we move on to the economy. £1 is equivalent to 2,900 Congolese francs, and things are so expensive in Congo, most likely due to the poor money circulation and the fact that there's difficulty in accessing these items which make them more expensive. Things such as toys are an extreme luxury in Congo, and children are resorted to play with whatever they can find, and sometimes even drawing on the ground. In Congo, you can feed someone for 400 francs, which is equivalent to 13 pence, when buying street food. However, you do put yourself at risk of becoming ill. However, in the supermarket, buying one loaf of bread is equivalent to buying 7 meals, and obviously one loaf of bread can't feed 7 people. A can of sweet corn in the UK would cost you about 45 pence, but over there it would cost you £1.37, due to how difficult it is to access. This is the Congo River. It is the second largest river in Africa. It separates Congo Kinshasa from Congo Brazzaville. Congo Kinshasa previously colonized by the Belgian, and Congo Brazzaville formerly colonized by the French. Some people migrate from Congo Kinshasa to Congo Brazzaville via these small canoes. However, they do put themselves at risk of being eaten by alligators or crocodiles, which are very common in these waters. In the distance is a whole complete different country.
They can cross over there to Brazzaville on this.
Wow.
Yeah. They call them in French pirogue.
Pirogue.
You see some of them there? Over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come from Brazza. From that side. Back in the day we used to have, before calling it the same country.
Yeah.
All this was pollution. You don't want to touch the water?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, touch it. See how cold it is. Hot. Hot.
yeah.
It's not even a cold. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Hot. There we go. That one plantain. You know the banana you eat, you like to eat it.
This one.
Yeah. That's the one we eat. It is normal.
Here next to the river you can see plantain trees and mango trees.
Mangoes make it now. Because you know we are not in the time of mango.
There's no plantains here. There's no.
We are not in the time.
Ah.
This is what your normal cruise would look like.
Items is difficult.
You have to work hard.
This is our local neighborhood.
Is that fish?
Not like that fish, really. The most insect there.
I don't know. It might look like.
Yeah, it's normal, but I can't, man. You need to get.
Yeah, you can get thingy.
On the left is a football pitch where people will play football. Despite the fact that people out there live in difficulty, it's beautiful to see that they're able to brighten up the mood. So I'm out here playing football with them in the alleyway, right next to my granddad's land. I was playing football previously with my shoes off, bare feet just like them, but I injured myself, and so I said no, I'm going back to the shoes. Disclaimer, I'm not actually that good at football before you say anything. Yeah.
Abazobeta bale na Congo. Se ayo beta pecha bima. Wine for you.
He was teaching them some new handshakes and how to play rock, paper, scissors as well. My little nephew, the one in red wearing the Miami shirt, he's a pro at rock, paper, scissors. See, already beat me. I tried to go for the psychological tactic, but it didn't work. I get sunburnt very easily, that's why I have to wear like a t-shirt on my neck. So all in all, Congo is a beautiful place. It's really beautiful, but it's sad. Despite the fact that it's very poor over there, I didn't see a single crime being committed over there. However, corruption has become so bad that normal services such as drainage system, electricity, even like garbage collection is not present, and it seems as though the country has gone backwards, which is quite sad. But there is never a problem with alcohol over there, and I think without being a tinfoil hat wearer, like if you make the population poor and you keep giving them alcohol, they're not gonna have the mental state in order to become stable and, you know, gain their own rights, gain their own freedom and independence. Because on the televisions, nearly every single advert I saw was an alcohol showing advert, showing how high society is, those who are drinking. Because the divide over there between the rich and poor is so steep, and they're glorifying, saying like, oh, the rich are those who are living life, relaxing, toasting, enjoying, you know, drinking wine, drinking beer, this, that, and the other. It's like selling dreams to the poor, saying like, oh, I know you want to be like that so badly. Here, if you drink, you're going to be like that. But what in actual fact, what it's actually doing is that it's making the poor have like a little bit of a perhaps alcohol addiction, and also it's affecting their ability to actually unite, come together, and to actually, you know, bring their ideas together in order to help themselves financially. So I know it's a bit of a conspiracy, but that's how I see it as well, because there's not a single problem in getting alcohol over there, but a can of sweet corn is difficult to get, and it's like £3 or £1.37, which doesn't really make sense. And in a way, it's like it's population control at the same time, because the thing is, Congo has 80% of the world's coltan. Coltan basically is it's a mineral, and it's important in the use of tantalum capacitors, which are used in almost every kind of electronic device. So like your mobile phones, you know, whatever electronic device, a lot of it 80% of the minerals that are needed to make those capacitors actually come from Congo. So in theory, you'd think Congo is a rich country, which it is, but obviously the wealth is not being distributed proportionally between the population, and the population are being kept down due to poverty and due to things which will impede them from actually becoming more financially free from, say, the government, i.e., distractions such as, drowning their sorrows in a bottle of beer and whatnot. Like, there was a story someone told me that someone will die because they don't have $20 for their medical care, but in one night they'll spend $20 because they accept dollars over there, at the bar. So that's the kind of mentality where it's affecting the population. But thank you for watching the documentary. I definitely recommend that you visit Congo one day, and thank you for your patience with my shaking camera.